It's really an honor to be on this panel with these other three amazing and successful women. So I want to thank the Women in Engineering team and Brandy for inviting me to be here today. I'm going to briefly talk about my journey and really hope that it gives some sort of inspiration or maybe even comfort knowing that there are other people in the same situation as you, and maybe comfort in knowing that it's not always rainbows and butterflies, because it's not, and if somebody tells you it is, then they're lying. But as Brandy said, I'm a coastal engineer and I'm in the Ocean Sciences Division at the U.S. Naval Research Laboratory in southern Mississippi. And I'm part of a group that measures and models environmental conditions near the coast. So in shallow water, like as you see here, you see sand ripples on the seafloor. And the information that we provide ultimately assists the Navy in making tactical decisions as part of their operational missions. And I study all the way from small scale to large scale, so from sand grains all the way up into sandbar migration and barrier island breaching, for example. And so that's what I do very, very briefly, but here's how I got there. It really started due to kind of an unfortunate situation in 2008, about 2 months before my graduate research fellowship ended. My advisor at the time at University of Florida came to me and said that he did not have funding to continue with me as a student. And so I was kind of at a crossroads. I either had to quit my Ph.D. and get a job, or switch my advisor and or school, and I knew that would add about 2 to 3 years onto my schooling. Or a third option that kind of dropped in my lap was to move to southern Mississippi, work at NRL with a researcher who I didn't really know on a topic that was similar to my PhD topic. And so I'm a northerner. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and to be completely honest, I never pictured myself in living in Mississippi. But I chose to go there, and little did I know at the time that it was the best decision I would ever make. So I graduated in 2010 with my PhD in Coastal and Oceanographic Engineering from University of Florida. And, but I did all of my dissertation work at NRL. So then I was hired as a full-time employee in 2011. I got a first author paper. I was awarded a project as a lead PI and another paper. And so I had really, really good momentum going until about late 2013, early 2014. And I had a journal article rejection. And it really did a blow to my self-esteem. Had a lot of issues then kind of picking back up and moving on. And then in 2014, baby number one came along and everything came to a screaming halt. I had a very difficult time mentally and physically with my mental and physical health during that time when my child was until he was about one years old. And I struggled a lot during that time with work, physically, in my marriage, everything was very difficult. And it wasn't until 2017 when I then got another paper published and I was awarded my second project as a PI. But as you can see, that's 4 years. And men don't typically have 4 years in between their or have a blip like that in their career due to a baby. So this is really something that the U.S. needs to take into account, especially in women's timelines, their career timelines. So moving on, in 2018, I was offered the chance to be a program manager at the Office of Naval Research through a detail, so 50% of my time. And I really struggled with the decision. My husband didn't want me to go. I was pregnant at the time. The position, it required a lot of travel. So I would have been traveling 1 to 2 times a month. And ultimately, I decided to take the position. I'm so glad that I did. It's been an amazing, rewarding experience. But in July of 2018, baby number 2 came along. And this one, I'm proud to say, I bounced back much more quickly, let things roll off my back. He traveled with me because I was breastfeeding him and couldn't leave a newborn and a 4-year-old at home with my husband. And it was tough. It was really tough. I was either having to have him in hotel rooms and pump, or bring him into daycare in different parts of the country. It was a tough time, but we got through it. And then I was awarded a large project in 2019 as part of ONR as the program manager of. But then in 2020 became our most challenging year yet, and I'm sure for a lot of you, because now not only am I a mom, a wife, a full-time employee, a mentor to all of my colleagues at work, or all my students and people at work, but I'm also a kindergarten teacher. Both my kids that are now 2 and 5 are at home with us. My husband and I both telework. We have a nanny that comes a couple hours a day to help with some things, which is helpful, but it's been an extremely challenging year. And it's been tough, and I have a lot of responsibilities at work, and I drop a lot of balls. But one of the things that I did for this presentation was I sat down and added up some of the concrete quantitative stats here that I've accomplished over the last 10 years. And I highly recommend you to do this because it will likely surprise you and make you feel really accomplished. At least it did me, looking at all of the presentations that I've made and where I've traveled all over the world and all over the country. I did 8 months of breastfeeding, which is 15% of 10 years. I've spent 7 months of those 10 years on maternity leave. And so I started off by saying, I've only published 5 journal articles in 10 years. And after I did this, I thought, wow, I've published 5 journal articles in 10 years. So really look at the glass half full and see what all you've done. And you really are doing well, likely, when you all put it down on paper. So I want to leave you with my last minute with just some last minute thoughts, some words of wisdom, some advice that I have learned over the years that I wish I knew 10 years ago. One is find your champions and stick with them. Find the people that are your supporters, that are on your side, on your team, and challenge you, and stick with them, and make sure that you keep them close. And then do not waste your time on the ones that aren't on your side. Don't try and change their mind. Don't waste your energy trying to get them to agree with you. Just leave them be and move on. Think long and hard before changing your name. I threw this one in there. I changed my name very spontaneously, and it was a very emotional decision when I got pregnant with my first child, because I wanted to have the same last name as my husband. And it ended up being a huge pain in the butt for work. It messed a lot of things up in terms of, publishing, and at work. I work with my husband, so we were getting each other's emails. I'm just saying it could be for you, but just make sure you think long and hard about it before you make the decision. Normalize motherhood, especially in the workplace. I say this all the time. I talk about breastfeeding around my colleagues. I talk about my kids around my colleagues, because that is me. That is who I am, and it's a part of me. And yeah, I may have to leave work to go pick my kid up from school because he's sick, and you have to make it normal in order to change the culture here. A very wonderful mentor of mine told me once, it's okay to drop balls, just know the ones that you can't. This is how I live my day-to-day life. You're gonna make mistakes, just admit them and move on. Don't spend a lot of time on them. Learn from them, but just move on. And drop the balls that you can drop, but don't drop the ones that you know you can't. Know your team's strengths and weaknesses as well as yours. I have this is, I think, a large part of why I've been so successful. And it's because I know what I suck at, and I hire people that are good at the things that I'm not good at. And then I delegate my tasks. So this is a really good way to build your team. Just know you and your team's strengths and weaknesses. And then the most important one, it is a tough world out there, especially now. Give yourself some grace. Make time to do what makes you happy and see the glass is half full. You are doing the best that you can, and know that you are enough, and tell yourself that every day. So thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to your questions after the panelists speak. Thank you.